a school board member in South Carolina has posted something extremely questionable on her social media account, and she refuses to resign following what she has posted. Her name is Sherrie Todd, and she is a Republican in South Carolina representing Carolina Forest and Myrtle Beach. And she wanted to share some commentary in regard to the allegations against Brett Kavanaugh, who is a Supreme Court justice now. And she had written the following: I've already decided that whoever wins the Democrat nomination in 2020 sexually assaulted me 40 years ago.
It's classy.
So critics are calling for her to resign. She has refused to do so. The only response that she has given the media is the following. She said that she did not share the post and was hacked.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people hacking into Horry County school board members' Facebook sites and going, how shall I
target? Yeah,
that's right. How shall I frame a joke that is incredibly mediocre and use the word Democrat instead of Democratic, and put it into the school board member so that she could be in a little bit of trouble, but since she's a Republican, she'll probably be fine. That's not a thing that happens. What happens instead is Republicans make terrible jokes about sexual assault.
I don't even think that she's joking. I mean, look, do I think she's actually gonna do that? No, but it gives you a sense of the way their mind works. Like, to them, everything that Dr. Blasey Ford said during that hearing was just made up and it was just political, which is such a strange thing to put yourself through, right? I don't care how much you care about politics. To put yourself through the type of torture that Dr. Ford had to go through for politics is inconceivable to me. And even Trump himself said, behind the scenes, not publicly, to his aides, why didn't you guys tell me she would sound this credible?
This reminds me of the fervor in which people support their sports teams. In that, I remember being involved in a baseball game, and who for some sick reason was more objective than the rest, and our guy was out at first by half a step, and he was called out. Everyone on our bench went ballistic, and everyone on their bench went ballistic that he was out, and we all claimed that he was safe. So when the emotions get involved and the fervor becomes at a high pitched, you lose your sense of reason. And that's part of the reason why anything that might be legitimate, a legitimate criticism, a legitimate accusation, immediately is assumed to be false. And it's not a lot different than it was in the Clinton days, because a lot of the progressives and Democrats didn't want to believe that those accusations were accurate and true, not not to the degree of fervor that we're seeing today, but both sides are guilty of it. In this case, you have a very legitimate accuser being completely delegitimized by people like this woman, and it's tragedy to me.
Yeah, look, I'll go further. Look, I've been guilty of it, and so I used to be a Republican, and so during the Anita Hill hearings, I didn't believe her. Why? Because I was on Team Republican, and it's not because I thought, since I'm a Republican, I'm going to back Clarence Thomas. No, I genuinely believe that he hadn't done it, because you get yourself to believe it.
That's right.
Right? And on a goofier topic, it's not goofy overall, but it's goofy in that I cared about it, like the team, as you're saying, Richard. Roethlisberger, I don't want to believe that because I'm a Steelers fan, what he was accused of. I mean, the topic is incredibly serious, but why do you care so much about your team that you are predisposed to believing one thing rather than the other? So we all got to get past that. So I've been there. I've made stupid comments.
We all got to get past that, but it's being taken advantage of, or the fires are being stoked by this particular administration, obviously, in the ways that we haven't seen since the 1930s in Germany, and so that flaw that we all have is being taken advantage of, and that's where it gets dangerous. And the events of today are a very good example of that.
Yeah, and look, I like to think that we got a little bit better, and that we're a little bit more open-minded these days. We, as in me, us, but you guys too, if you're progressives or independents, Look, because I'll give you examples, right? So it's easy to say, well, Bill Cosby, I love Bill Cosby. We found out that he did monstrous things. Okay, so we got past our love for Bill Cosby. Harvey Weinstein, I never had any love for in the first place, but he gave to Democrats. I don't really care about that, so that's not a great example.
Louis C.K. is a good example.
Yeah,
because
Louis C.K. is a good example.
He's so truthful in his comedy. You want him to, we want him to get to come back and get past this, but he can't, and understandably why.
Yeah, that is a good example.
No, yeah, and for me, it's John Conyers. The guy's a legend. Okay, in a lot of ways, a civil rights hero and one of the longest-serving congressmen, a wonderful progressive and Democrat. And it looks like he did sexual harassment and he had to resign, right? So and I hate that happened, but it's not anybody else's fault but his. He's the one who did it, right? So, but we're willing to say all those things. We're willing to be honest.
Too much so, even to the point of Al Franken.
Well, I was just going to bring Al Franken up. So I feel like you brought up a really great point in the Clinton years and how I was too young, so I didn't have a reaction because my mom wouldn't let me know about what was going on for good reasons.
We don't like you now.
No. But what I do want to mention is that I feel like the pendulum has swung in like the extreme opposite direction for people on the left, because now on the left, I feel like that's the only place in the political world where there's a lot of criticism, where we hold each other accountable, where we criticize one another almost too aggressively sometimes, not in regard to sexual assault allegations, but for anything else.
Well, there's an inherent problem in being a progressive or a Democrat, and that is that there's a presumption on those that are leaders that they are on the side of good. And therefore, they have a standard to live up to. And what we're seeing, especially from this administration, is that that's irrelevant. There's no facade. It's unadulterated pursuit of whatever their agenda is. And sometimes it's hard to figure it out, except to create division and disturbance.
And here it is. They've created division to the point where people assume that Dr. Blasey Ford is wrong. They assume it's a conspiracy, and they joke around about, oh yeah, we'll hatch a conspiracy next time. And so, look, no matter which side of the political aisle you're from, we hope that you keep an open mind. But one side seems to these days consistently be in the camp of facts be damned. There are alternative facts, and hypocrisy is not interesting or relevant to us. We don't care. We're for our team. And so if you admit John Conyers did something wrong, well, that's a weakness on your part. You should have never admitted that. We just always strongly deny it, and we're done with it, right?
Do you remember when you first heard the term alternative facts?
Yes.
Who was it from?
Kellyanne Conway.
Kellyanne Conway, and I keep thinking to that moment, and I just wonder if it's a term that was used in meetings that she forgot not to say out loud. And then it became a Webster term, right?
It's amazing, yeah.
And it just feels like she was stumped for that moment, and she says, well, there are alternative facts. But that's the directive in the meetings. And it's very specifically based on the propaganda. And again, I go back to the 1930s in Germany, where alternative facts was a strategy.
Yeah, and last thing on this is, and that's where the political correctness comes from, both from Stalinist days and from fascist Germany days and Nazi days, honestly, where they said that might be correct, whatever you're saying about, name it, like Aryan nation is not actually genetically superior, but it's not politically correct. So you're not allowed to say it even if it's true. That's where the term politically correct comes from. You had to present alternative facts to what were actually correct facts, because that was a politically correct thing to do. And so it's an interesting theory that you have that they were discussing internally, perhaps, hey, we should give them alternative facts. And in that moment, she blurted it out. But as you see with Donald Trump often too, he says things he shouldn't say. If he was a savvy politician and was trying to disguise things, he just blurts it out. He's like, well, I just wanted to end the Russian investigation. That's why I fired Comey. Oops, I just said that out loud.
No.
Right.
Well, one final thing that I want to add to this is that this is a woman on a school board in South Carolina, and can we just please have higher standards for people who make decisions for our kids and for their futures. Because if this is her school of thought when it comes to sexual assault allegations, I certainly wouldn't feel comfortable having her as part of the school board if my child was part of that district.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.